that you do it on purpose. Sing like a singing on key. Talk to the girl that intimidates you. Pretend that you're brilliant and charming. I said pretend that you're brilliant and charming. Hey!
Yes, everybody, welcome in later with Jason Suel. So glad that you are tuned in to our show. We got a great one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, you right there. Put the snacks down. Look at me. Thank you.
Yes.
Now snack again. Yeah.
Bo, you know what? I just realized we don't have a chef.
What?
Yeah. You think you can, could you whip up something with all of your...
As long as it's got
alcohol?
Booze in it.
Yeah,
Because you know it's springtime, and I always got that stuff on me.
Yes, that's great. Okay, we'll put you down at the chef's table.
So I'm going to be the
one
chef?
segment taken care of. Yeah, you're going to be the chef.
All
The
right.
chef, the mixologist,
Again.
the chef, the bar guy, the man with all the alcohol, and the
liquid master.
The liquid master. That's
Yeah.
right.
I don't
yes.
like the term mixologist, actually. Believe
Yeah,
it or not.
I think a lot of folks don't. Can you demystify why people would not like to be called a mixologist?
Well, because most people that work in the bartending, like bartending is a very wide craft, right? You know, and mixology, most people like think of the guy on Instagram with the apron and the mustache.
Yep.
And he's just like, well, I just made this pecan tincture. And it's like, no, dude, bartending is more than just putting flavors together.
Sure.
And mixology is its own little chapter, but I think a good bartender trumps a mixologist any day of the week.
Okay, good to hear.
I'm a bartender.
Yeah, bartender extraordinaire.
Yeah.
You know what?
What else do we have on the show other than me?
We do. I was going to get into that.
Yeah.
So we've got alcohol, but we're also talking to Rachel Bell. So you remember Rachel?
So more food stuff.
Yes, so Rachel does a podcast called Your Last Meal where she interviews celebrities, musicians, creatives, people that you know and have heard of.
And Jewel.
And Jewel, that's right, about their last meal. What would be on the menu for their last meal? She's had this podcast going. I think she said she's done over 150 episodes of this thing. So I can't wait to visit with her more. Always great to chat with her, so she'll be on the show today. Yeah, great stuff lined up. I wanted to ask you, though.
What did I do?
What did you do? It's springtime, which we've mentioned several times, but it is busy. April, I feel like April and May are very busy months here in Northwest Arkansas. Your calendar probably pretty full. How do you keep it all straight?
Well, you know, I don't most of the time. It's the time of year where I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta be here. I'm running 15 minutes late. Like, because, you know, the town starts to become alive.
Yeah.
Flowers are blooming. People are like, oh, there's finally warm weather. And then there's just things in parks and chefs in parks and dogs and babies in parks. And
you can find them all at the Fayetteville Farmers Market as well.
And at the park. Like everybody's outside. And Fayetteville is such a wonderful place. Northwest Arkansas in general is such a wonderful place to be outside.
That's right.
You know, I just got back from a trip to Texas and, you know, there's a lot of cool things there. But it's hot and there's no trees and everything's flat.
Right.
And you have to drive 30 minutes to get everywhere and it's all concrete. And I come home and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Northwest Arkansas is gorgeous to be outside in.
It is, absolutely. We hope you enjoyed your day outside. You're joining us now at night. We always have fun on the show. Again, we got a great one lined up. Looking forward to chatting with Rachel Bell. Looking forward to seeing what Bo puts together at our chef's table. So stick around. All that fun is happening later. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Joining us now all the way from Seattle out there on the West Coast, we've got Rachel Bell. She is the creator of the podcast Your Last Meal. We've had Rachel on the show several times. Just a quick kind of catch up if you're just meeting Rachel for the first time. She first came to Northwest Arkansas as part of the Fayetteville Roots Festival with her James Beard Award nominated podcast Your Last Meal. And we hit it off. We've had her back several times. She's joining us again. Thanks for taking the time to be with us, Rachel.
Hi, Northwest Arkansas.
Yes, you're back, or it's like you're back. So
It does feel like I'm back.
yeah. For those that maybe haven't tuned in, not familiar with the podcast, give us a brief synopsis. What do you do on that show?
Yeah, so on every episode, I interview a different celebrity about what they would choose to eat for their last meal. We talk about their career a little bit, we talk about their lives, we talk about food, and then we get to that big question, which is not intended to be morbid at all. It's just a way to get to know people. It's kind of a more personal and intimate look at the lives of celebrities because, you don't always know what they have in their fridge and their cupboard. And then based on what they say, I have other experts on the show to talk about the history or the science or the cultures. Recently, I had Jewel on, which was A, very exciting, and B, I realized that people under 30 don't know who Jewel is. And every time someone younger would ask me, who did you have on last week? And I said, it's Jewel. And they looked at me blank, and I'm like, oh my God.
I was going to say, I'm depressed by that. Everybody needs to know who Jewel is.
And Jewel has a very interesting story. She grew up in the wilds of Alaska, and her family only ate what they could kill, what they could grow, what they could forage.
So she was a feral child?
Kind of. Yeah, she was. And then when she came to the mainland, she was like, what is macaroni and cheese in a box? I don't get it. So her last meal is bear biscuits. Do you know what bear biscuits are?
No, what are bear biscuits?
Is that something you
Bear
step on
biscuits-
in the woods?
Yeah, it could be. It could be if her family was like throwing them out there.
Yeah.
It's biscuits that are made with bear lard. I had never heard of this before. Her dad, would collect the lard himself. And so it turns out this is a big thing amongst hunters. I had on one of the country's most renowned bear hunters. So it's super fascinating, things that I would never learn about if I wasn't doing the show that I pass along to listeners.
I know we were catching up the other day. We were talking about, you had a connection to Lady Gaga and her, the dress that she wore to that award ceremony that one time. Tell me that story again. Fill our audience in.
Yeah, so my guest was Betsy Johnson, the iconic fashion designer, and my producer and I were trying to think of what is the connection between food and fashion. And she said, well, what about Lady Gaga's meat dress? That is like a very literal collision of food and fashion. And so I tracked down the guy who designed that dress. He went to his butcher in Argentina and said, what kind of cut of meat would be good to sew with? And ironically, that dress was made out of skirt steak. And it's not a ba-dum-bum ching, it is the truth.
But that's fascinating. What is it, do you think, I don't think you've already spoken to this, but food has that special way of bringing communities together. That's why on this show, we always have a food segment. We like to highlight our chefs here in Northwest Arkansas, but food and the stories of food bring people together. In your experience and in speaking to all the folks that you have, would you say that's true?
Oh, yeah, I definitely think it's true. I mean, when you go to another country and you travel abroad and you can't speak the language, people always bond over food. I mean, even in this country, when you meet like an immigrant and you have nothing else to talk about, you're like, oh, I've had the food from your country. I think it is obviously universal. And in the age we live in now, which started from the Food Network a couple decades ago, our eyes have been opened up. I mean, think about like the way this country used to eat and like who's eating, kimchi fried rice now in the Midwest. Like, our palates have expanded. The universe has expanded. People are trying all kinds of foods. And so there's so many things I'd never heard of before that I've learned about on the podcast. Like, have you ever heard of banoffee pie?
Oh, yeah. I've had banoffee pie. Delicious. Yes.
So good. And it's really popular in England. Banoffee is a portmanteau of bananas and toffee. And that's the last meal of Gail Simmons from Top Chef. She's one of the judges. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I know more about food than the average person. And I'm like, that's new to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, I did. I lived in the UK for about 4 years. So that's where I loved and had banoffee pie for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Couple questions before we let you get out of here, because I'm sure you got more podcasting to go into. Is there some meal or some staple that seems to pop up consistently when you talk to people about what they would have as a last meal?
Yes. I mean, I've done over 150 interviews in 6 years, so we get a lot of variety, but it seems like the two most popular things are ice cream is huge. People love ice cream, not very surprising. I've even had Ben and Jerry as guests on the show. And a fascinating fact about that is I always mix up who. I believe it's Jerry is anosmic, which means he doesn't have a sense of smell. He was born that way. when you can't smell, you can't taste very well. So when they were developing the ice cream, Ben would give him a taste and he's like, I don't know what flavor that is. So that's why their ice cream is so famously chunky, is because he relies on texture. So they just put so many chunks of things in the ice cream. So that has come up a lot. The second most popular is steak. A steak dinner, which I think is kind of like an American idea of like, ooh, that's fancy. Even though most last meals are not fancy, you know, these people that I speak to have a lot of money, they can go anywhere they want, have anything they want. And people tend to choose nostalgic foods. You know, it's like something from their childhood or like a vacation. Or I had Jack Johnson on recently. He is amazing. That's a really good episode to listen to. And his last meal is a food that him and his wife made in 1997 when they were still dating and they were traveling around Europe in a van just for fun, a VW bus. And it was like this meal that they made when they didn't have enough money to buy anything super good. I'm not going to reveal it. You have to listen. But I mean, that's his last meal, which I think is so sweet and such a better story than, you know, I want lobster and caviar.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know why that song Banana Pancakes comes to mind, which was around that time of Jack Johnson. So I definitely have to tune into that episode. And speaking of, how can we tune into your episodes? Where can we find you out there, your podcast?
If you already listen to podcasts, it is on every podcast player, you know, the big ones, Apple, Spotify, or you can find me on Instagram. There's a link there. Hello, Rachel Bell. But yeah, just Google it.
Rachel, again, thanks for joining us all the way from the West Coast. We appreciate your time, and I can't wait to tune in and listen.
Thank you so much. It's always so fun to come on and chat with you.
Yeah, for sure. Stick around. Got more happening later.
Celebrating 10 seasons all year long on Later with Jason Suel. Our musical guests brought to you by Walton Arts Center. Walton Arts Center, a home for Broadway right here in your own backyard.
Yes, welcome everybody. We're down here at the chef's table.
That's the drink bell.
That's it. That's a very crisp and clear tone on that
Why they
jigger.
call it a bell jigger, I think.
Yes, could be it.
Could be.
What are we making?
Well,
what are you making?
You didn't give me a whole lot of time to prepare today,
No,
Jason.
I didn't.
So I just had a few things laying around. And it's springtime, right?
Okay.
And springtime is so amazing for drinking, right? And but when you're drinking a lot and you're drinking outside, you don't like if you're gonna be a pro about it.
Okay, and we do want to educate our audience to be pros about drinking.
Low ABV.
Oh, low ABV.
It
Way to
doesn't
go.
have to, when people come to a bar and go, can't even taste the alcohol in here. Is this even a real drink? Go, yes, it's not about drinking alcohol. It's about drinking things that taste good, also have a little bit of a benefit. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
sure,
And
yeah.
cocktails should not be about covering up the taste of your spirit. It should be accentuating the taste
yeah.
of the spirit. And I thought we'd talk about Amaros.
All right, let's talk about tomorrow.
One of the things that people...
Not tomorrow, but today.
Todeos.
Yes.
Amaros, everybody asks, a lot of people that are not familiar, and they're Italian, they go, but what kind of liquor is it?
Right.
And I go, well, it's an Amaro. And I go, well, what kind of liquor? Is it like a rum or gin? And I go, that's kind of like serving someone fish. And they go, what kind of meat is this? Is this like a beef or a chicken or poultry? And you go, no, it's
a fish. Yeah.
But is it a beef though? Amaros are their own thing.
Okay.
And Amaros are made by generally...
Kind of like David Pumpkins. They're their own thing.
They're their own. We're our own thing.
Yeah.
But they're made by steeping like barks and botanicals and herbs and all these different things into an alcohol, letting it steep, fortifying it with sugar, and barrel aging it.
Okay.
Right? So it's its own thing. And sometimes they can range anywhere from 16% up to 30 or 40%. So it really depends on what you're sipping.
Sure.
You've got like Underberg, which is just a fun herbal digestive.
Which you've become addicted to.
I
Right?
love them. They're like medicine.
Yeah.
But an Amaro, what makes an Amaro great is it's a template. You need a bitter, a sweet, and some soda.
That's it.
That's it.
That's your drink. That's your low ABV
Low
sipping
ABV.
cocktail
It's
on a spring day.
super easy. And you can do whatever you want with it as long as you follow that same principle. You
Okay.
need a bitter, which is your Amaro.
Right.
A sweet, which is often like a sweet vermouth or something like that, or
Yep.
some sugar component, or a liqueur.
Yep.
And then you just need some soda water. And since we're friends, I'm using my hands.
Yes.
So,
yeah. I can't wait to taste that. That'll
so-
add a little bit to it.
A
right?
little solidity, a
extra.
little salt.
Yeah.
So we're using Carpano Antico, which is a vermouth that I absolutely love. We're just going to do equal parts, 1 ounce, 1 ounce.
Okay.
So we'll put
Is it 1 ounce, and then top with soda? Is that what you do?
Yep. That's
Okay.
exactly what I do.
Yeah.
And you can add citrus if you want. Like I do a riff on an Amaro called the Bow Nose that uses one of my favorites, which is Chinar. It's an artichoke liqueur.
You're going with Campari though here.
Campari is the classic. And some people say this predates the Negroni because
Right.
the Negroni is Campari, vermouth, and gin.
Yes.
This is something lighter. It's a little easier. So the last ingredient you need is just holler at your favorite barback or assistant and be like, hey, we need some soda water.
Oh, sweet.
See?
Right here.
Right there.
Man,
We're
you-
using San Pellegrino. It's really nice and carbonated. Got some good minerality.
Did you plan that? Do people just follow you around and bring you
You always
whatever
have
you
to
need?
have a good bar bag. Always. And then you just top it off with a little bit of soda, And then it's going to add those bubbles. It's going to make it nice and sweet.
Are you going to add citrus to them? You talked about how you could add citrus.
You could. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to express a little bit of lemon oil
Okay.
on it. So get a peeler, get yourself a little lemon zest, and give it one of these bams right there.
Right.
Wipe those oils over.
Yeah.
And then you hand it to your homie, and then you cheers. That's what you do.
That's what you do.
Americano. So again, you can sub the Campari for Chinar. You can serve the vermouth for another sweet component. You can mix it up. You can play around with it as long
Cheers.
as the parts are the same.
That's it. Yes, man. All right, let's try it. It's a moment of truth.
It's bitter. It's sweet. It's light.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything for sipping on a beautiful spring day here in the
Flowers
Ozarks.
around with the trees, the wind blowing through your hair.
That's it. Yeah.
Ah.
Well, thanks, Bo. This has been excellent. Thank you for and informative as always. I love how you give us
My
some
pleasure.
history on the drink. We love it. Yes, stick around. We got more fun happening later. Yes, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Remember, you can find us out there on your social media platforms or send us an email at laterwithjasonsuel.com. But before we go, we got to thank everybody who helped to make this episode possible, including Bo Counts pulling double duty, co-hosting, and making some delicious cocktails.
I saved the day.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Thank you, Bo.
Of course. And hey, it wouldn't be the same without Rachel Bell.
Yeah.
We had food, we had drinks, we talked about last meals. It was awesome.
It was, yes, absolutely. Love having Rachel. And how about that music video provided to us by Fayetteville Public Television, Fayette Tunes? It was the band Townhouse Fire. Loved having them on the show as well. That's our show. We'll see you later, alligator.
After a while, crocodile. You want to hit this one?